We are live. Good morning, afternoon, evening. I guess it's evening. I don't even know what day it is. Okay, let me tweet this out so that we can get some people here, get this thing going. And I don't know how long we're going to go tonight based on I know everyone is busy and this is not our normal time. But we are live. We are live. Tweet it out. Answering your week 16 DFS and season long questions. All right. So week 16, for those that not familiar with how we do this, I know that we're at a bit of a unique time. We go through and we talk about primarily DFS questions, but we're open to answering anything here in week 16 because we know it's an important week for everybody. So let's jump right into it. I think the slate this week is really strange because at the wide receiver position, it's a bit of a disaster. To be honest, it's you have Justin Jefferson at the top, you have DK Metcalf, who's going to be a good play, but other than that, you're really poking at like just a number of different guys that you're hoping can either exceed bad matchups, bad weather, injuries to quarterbacks. So on a 10-game slate, there's really the player pool is somewhat limited. So let's go ahead and jump in. I think the running back population is the exact opposite, to be honest. I think that the running backs there's a number 6, 7 good running back plays this week. You have at the top, you have McCaffrey, Henry. I think Dalvin Cook's in a good spot. Saquon's okay. I don't love him against the Vikings, but going down the list, you have Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon on PPR sites is fine. Miles Sanders is a good play. You could take a shot on Deontay Foreman. I'm personally not, but you could. And I'm sure I'm missing one or two in there as well. Okay, so if you do have questions, just go ahead and post them in the comments, and then we will answer those. If you guys give this a thumbs up, it does help people join the show, and then add to the overall viewership. Like I said, I have no idea how long we're going to go. Normally we go an hour, but normally we do this on Saturday nights, and being Friday night and Christmas time, we may go 20 minutes, and that's totally fine. Thoughts on DJ Moore on FanDuel? Sweet matchup. Yeah, I mean, I like this one's tough because it's a really good matchup. I like Sam Darnold this week. Not in DFS, more so from a prop perspective. So one of my favorite props this week is Sam Darnold over 192.5 passing yards. I don't know if it's still there, but I jumped on it as soon as I saw it. Let me see where it's at the moment, because I do think that it is a good play for those of you that are in a state that does allow you to wager on props, but I'll keep talking. So the matchup is a particularly good one because you look at Detroit and they're allowing the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They're up there in yardage, and problem is it's still Sam Darnold. The weather's going to be poor. I prefer DJ Moore in a PPR setting. Do I think he's a good play? Yeah, I think he's fine. Do I think he's a must play this week? Not particularly. So if I look at his price on FanDuel, he is trying to pull this up. DJ Moore is 7,100. Like, do I think there's a big difference between DJ Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster? I might prefer Juju over DJ Moore, to be honest. Kansas City is one of the 3 games that I'm really trying to target. So I think if you can target this week, Philly, Dallas, the Giants versus the Vikings, and Kansas City, Seattle, maybe include San Francisco, Washington, you're going to be in a really good spot this week. You could probably, outside of a handful of different plays, just completely ignore the rest of the slate and have a winning lineup. So, is DJ Moore like a must play? Certainly not. I think that he has upside. He has an ability to get there, but he's not like this guy that you have to play this week. Trust Godwin this week would lock it out. Yeah, I love Marquise Goodwin, to be honest. He's one of, if not my top value play of the slate. I was looking at it earlier. Seattle is incredibly thin at the wide receiver position. They have Metcalf, they have Goodwin, and basically nothing else. They have Laquan Treadwell and Penny Hart, and then one other guy that I hadn't even heard of before. So, like, what if Seattle just completely commits to shutting DK Metcalf down? Is that possible? I'm sorry. What if Kansas City commits to shutting DK Metcalf down? Is that possible? I don't know that you can completely shut him down, but you could certainly limit him and prevent him from some of the long plays. It's going to be cold in that game. So do they try and get the ball in space to Marquise Goodwin? I think they might. So I see Goodwin having at least 4, 5, 6 catches, to be honest. Dobbins is a good play this week. I would agree with that. Is it dumb to consider benching Brady for Minshew in a season long? Is it dumb? Let me look to see where I have these projected. Brady hasn't been what people have wanted him to be. But, if I look at just overall season stats, like last week he was fine. And he threw for 313 yards. I think he had like 18 fantasy points. I'm a little worried about Gardner Minshew in like season-long leagues just because the hype that he's getting, particularly in DFS, it's warranted because his price is so low. But like you look at Gardner Minshew, and I tweeted it out yesterday. The idea of Gardner Minshew is better than the actual player. And what I mean by that is you look at last year, and in his 2 starts, one against the same Dallas Cowboys team, Dallas's defense was much worse last year than they are this year. He threw for 186 and 2 touchdowns. And then against the Jets, he threw for 242 and 2 touchdowns. In fact, in his last 6 starts, he has not thrown for more than 250 yards. So Dallas's defense is really good. Arizona, like what are the Cardinals playing for? Their coach is 2 feet out the door. The Buccaneers still are in the lead of that division, I think, at 6-8. If not, they're tied for it. So I would go Brady, long story short. I don't love Brady this week, but Minshew, if he has 250 and 2, I think you're happy with that. And I don't know that you'd be happy if Brady just had that, to be honest. Kenneth Walker seems dirt cheap on FanDuel. Yeah, because he is dirt cheap, but what has Kenneth Walker done recently to inspire confidence, right? He's 26 yards on 14 carries against the Raiders in a good matchup. He had just 3 carries against the Rams on December 4th. It looks like he got hurt in that game. And then against the 49ers, he didn't really do all that much, but that's the 49ers. And he's dealing with an ankle and back injury. How is he going to react in the cold in that? if you want to play him in a GPP, I think it's fine. But I want to target the passing game this week in that scenario, to be honest. I mean, Kansas City seemingly can't stop the pass, giving up the third most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They've allowed 20 plus points to Davis Mills, Russell Wilson, and Joe Burrow over the last 3 weeks. Joe Burrow is fine. Like, giving up 30 to him, I think, is a little much. But 25 to Russell Wilson and 20 to Davis Mills, like, come on, guys. You guys are better than that. But that's what they're playing. And I know their run defense hasn't been great either, giving up 15 to Marlon Mack and 21 to Samaje Perine. So, at what's his price? It's 6,900. Yeah, I mean, it's a good price. I prefer Isaiah Pacheco at 6,700, a little bit more though. Season long full point PPR, Minshew, Jones, or Carr, and Cooks, Godwin. Not sure the question, to be honest. Yeah, Mike, repost that question and I'll help answer it. Are you saying, okay, I think I follow it now. Minshew, Jones, or Carr. Got it. Cooks, Goodwin, or Chris Moore. So the second one is easier than the first one. Marquise Goodwin is the play there. We just don't know how Brandon Cooks is going to be healthy, whether or not he's going to be healthy. And then Chris Moore is in a good matchup, but that game could be just a complete slog, to be honest. I mean, Malik Willis versus Davis Mills. Derrick Henry is going to run the ball 25 plus times. It's a complete stay away. Give me the wide receiver that's in the best projected game and probably the best matchup, to be honest. Minshew, Jones, and Carr is where it gets interesting because Daniel Jones has the most upside, and I don't think it's particularly close. Minnesota can't stop much from a passing perspective. So I think Jones has the most upside, but we know Daniel Jones, like, he could be in a great matchup, but he could still struggle at times. Gardner Minshew is probably the safest, but like I talked about, I don't think Gardner Minshew is going out there and throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones could. So I think or he could run for 50 yards, right? So just in terms of total upside, I think Daniel Jones has the most. So if you think you're in like I really need them just swing for the fences, and if he has 12 points, like, it doesn't matter if he has 12 or 6, I'm going to lose anyway, then, I would go Daniel Jones saying, like, hey, he could get me 20, 22, 24 points, where Gardner Minshew is going to have a tougher path to do that. Thoughts on Goodwin and Fant in DK Cash together? I think it's fine, to be honest. I like I was talking about Kurt earlier. I don't know if you were here, but Seattle's window is so narrow in terms of passing that they're going to throw to 3 guys. They're going to throw to Metcalf, Fant, and Goodwin. Maybe Will Dissly gets in there too, but it's going to be really narrow. Mahomes, Cash, FanDuel to get away from the chalk. Here's what I would say about that. And I for those of you that don't listen to the Power Grid, I highly encourage you to go and listen this week more than other weeks. We talked a lot about strategy this week, and I think that strategy is important here because if you're going to play Mahomes, I would not play Cash this week. What I would then do is play in a 3-person, 5-person, 10-person, 20-person, 100-person small GPP and try and get more than double your money. So when I think about Cash, I think about it's really a head-to-head contest or a 50-50 contest where the top half make their money or double their money. But there's no sense in being suboptimal by going Mahomes if your return is only 100%. Mahomes could certainly be the path. He could certainly be the play. But if you're asking me, like, hey, is it more likely or not that Gardner Minshew plus Derrick Henry plus Christian McCaffrey, or Gardner Minshew plus Derrick Henry plus Travis Kelce are going to be more optimal than spending all that salary at Patrick Mahomes? I think the answer, like unequivocally, is yes, to the Minshew side. So if I had to put like an odds on it, I would put like a probably 65-35 that the Minshew side ends up better. So why would you enter a contest in which you're going into it as an underdog? Half point PPR season long projected to lose Monty or Mostert. Projected to lose is important. It's a very important fact at this time of the year. Is it PPR? Half point. I gotta look up red zone stats. 1 second. Sorry, I want to make sure I get this right. Red zone, Miami. Yeah, that's the problem. Raheem Mostert in his last 5 games has 2 red zone carries or targets total. He had 19 from week 1 to week 10. Some of that is just the Dolphins offense has been sputtering, but I don't know that I trust it. I would rather go, but I'd rather go David Montgomery. I think he's going to catch 3, 4, 5, probably 4 passes. Buffalo's run defense has been up and down this year. It's not the vaunted defense that it has been in years past because of the injuries that they've had. So Mostert, like, he doesn't catch passes, 1, and if he only has 2 total red zone carries plus targets over the last 5 weeks, what are his chances to score a touchdown? Probably not all that great. Let me just look at props to see where their touchdown odds are. Hold on 1 second. So David Montgomery to score a touchdown is plus 185. Wow, Mostert's minus 160. Huh. That's interesting. I would not have assumed that based off of his red zone recent stats. Maybe you do go Mostert and hope for a touchdown there if the sportsbooks think that Mostert's about a 60% chance to score a touchdown and Montgomery's about 37%, then yeah. Minshew, Purdy, or Pickett? Minshew. Pickens, Sutton, or Burks? Pickens, Sutton, or Burks? Well, I don't know. Is Burks going to play? I guess it doesn't really matter because Malik Willis is starting. It's probably Cortland Sutton pretty easily. Hold on, my dog is. Hey, wake up. Sorry. Well, I don't even know if Sutton's going to play. Yeah, we have Sutton right now not playing. So Sutton could be out. Burks even going to play? I mean, by default, it might be Pickens, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, by default, it's Pickens because I don't know if Sutton's going to play. Why McLaurin? Because I don't love McLaurin, to be honest. I have him like 6th right now. He's the number 1 guy, and San Francisco's defense is really good, but they've struggled against number 1 receivers this year. So if I look at San Francisco, they've allowed, let's see, just PPR scoring, 30 to Tyreek Hill, 20 18 to DeAndre Hopkins, 23 to Cooper Kupp, 25 to Juju Smith-Schuster, 26 to Cooper Kupp, 18 to Cortland Sutton, 20 to Tyler Lockett. Like you can score against this defense. You can get yardage. I don't think McLaurin's going to score, but there's just not many options this week, to be honest. Like on the Saturday main slate, it's pretty brutal as far as starting wide receivers. Browns or Bucks? Give me the Browns. They're favorites. It's the lowest scoring game that it's been in a long time. 32 points. I don't know that in the 10 or 11 years that I've been doing this that I've seen something so low. So, yeah, let's go the Browns. Thoughts on FanDuel Cash? Minshew, Henry, CMC, Pacheco, more. You lost me with more. Who is that? DJ and Chris? Yeah. Akins, Browns. I think it's fine. I would consider one of the Giants receivers like Richie James or even like a Darius Slayton. I might consider Juju Smith-Schuster over DJ Moore, but it's close. And then you could use some of that savings to go with Akins. I love the Carolina Panthers this week from a defensive standpoint. I don't know that the Browns have that much upside just because how many, like, unless it's just a turnover fest, which I guess it could be, but I think that there's going to be a lot of running in this game, which the Browns have really struggled against. So, yeah, the Panthers are my top defense at 3,500. So you might want to look at them just because Jared Goff has never thrown for he's thrown for over 200 yards once in his 5 career games in cold weather. Amon-Ra St. Brown has never played in sub 32 degree weather at any level. So Carolina's pass defense has been good as well. But I understand the Browns. I don't hate it. I don't hate that lineup, to be honest. All those guys are in my list. Pacheco, Dobbins, Murray, Watson, Evans, Waller. PPR, Pacheco. I'm assuming that's Mike Evans. So I'm probably playing Mike Evans. And then PPR. Let me just make sure I have PPR up. All right. So Evans, Watson, Pacheco, Dobbins, right? And I guess I'll throw Latavius Murray in there just for the hell of it. For me, it's Pacheco, Watson, Evans, unless you need a safe play, and then I would go Pacheco, Murray, Evans. I think Christian Watson can be up and down. I think that his floor is a little bit lower, but if you need upside, I would go Pacheco, Watson, Evans. I think that's a good play. DJ Moore, Dobbins, or Christian Watson PPR. I think I go Christian Watson, to be honest. Dobbins just doesn't catch passes, right? So that makes it really hard. I have Christian Watson 1.5 points higher than DJ Moore. So let's go Christian Watson. Yeah, I think you're forced to play Pickens. I would look at the waiver wire, to be honest, and see what's available because I don't think 2 of those 3 guys are going to play. Yeah, do that. Let me just make sure. Goodwin or Pickens. Yeah, go get Goodwin and play him. I think. If it's PPR, for sure. Pickens' floor is too low. Browns or Bucks? Browns. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thoughts on FanDuel Cash, Minshew, Kamara, CMC, Henry, James? I think it's fine. I don't love DJ as much as you do, John, but I think it's fine. No concern with Goodwin's injury report this week? Not really. To be honest. I'm assuming you mean Goodwin and not Godwin. Yeah, it's a wrist and an ankle injury, but like, let's see if he was at full practice. Thursday's injury report. Goodwin. Oh, he didn't participate on Thursday. If he's out there, though, he's going to catch passes. Is it a must win? I mean, certainly the Seahawks can't lose. I don't know if they still have a path to make the playoffs, but they can't just run out DK Metcalf and then Penny Hart. Like that won't work. Or Laquan Treadwell. So if Goodwin is active, yeah, okay, there we go. Kevin said it's rest related. I think he's fine. He was a full participant on Tuesday, limited on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. But if they're saying it's rest related and he's good to go, we'll know before tomorrow if like he's trending downwards. But I haven't heard anything, to be honest. It's a 1:00 game, so we'll know for sure. What kind of day will Minshew have? Gardner Minshew will have 245 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. What do you think from an extrovert standpoint? What is the biggest mistake people who don't do this for a living make playing DFS? Well, let me just clarify that. I think that the number of people who do this for a living are very, very small. I don't do this for a living. I do this as a second job. But I've been doing it semi-professionally now for 11 years. I think they try and get too cute and they overreact to certain news. So, and they don't, like, I fall into this too. That if you're a GPP player, you get really stuck on what has happened recently and not so much what the odds of like a player who has struggled as of, I think about it similar to like Jonathan Taylor, right? Jonathan Taylor largely had an awful year. And a lot of people who don't play this at a high level or don't play this consistently just like completely wrote him off for several weeks. And we're waiting for him to have that Jonathan Taylor type game before they would go back in and consider him. But the problem is that you become a dog chasing its tail a little bit in the sense of, hey, I'm waiting for him to have a big game. He goes out there, he has 147 yards and a touchdown against Las Vegas, and then he comes back down to earth and has 84 yards and a touchdown the following week at an elevated price. So I think you hear me, if you follow the power grid, you probably hear me use the term point chasing a lot. And it's something that I actively try and avoid doing, which is basically just, hey, what happened last week or what happened the last 2 weeks? we're working on very small sample sizes in the NFL, and having the understanding there that 1 week doesn't really dictate it, I think is a big mistake that a lot of people make. Okay. All right, Kevin. Thanks for the. Yeah, I mean, if Goodwin's out there, I'm playing him. That's simple. Gerald Everett or Pat Fryermuth. Ooh. Everett or Fryermuth? That is a good question. Everett. Let's go. We go Pat Fryermuth. I think he just gets more target. He's going to get more targets. I mean, how the Chargers divvy up their volume when you have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Gerald Everett. He's basically the fourth cog there. And they've had close games in which they've had to throw pretty heavily. This week they, facing the Colts, facing Nick Foles, do they really need to throw the ball 40 plus times? Probably not. So is Gerald Everett's upside impacted by that? Yeah, I think it is. Philly or Indy this week? Philly. I love the Philly defense. I mean, the Philly defense is going very underlooked. They're my favorite defense on DraftKings. They lead the league in sacks. They lead the league in turnover differential. Their corners are unbelievable, led by Darius Slay. So this is a defense that I really like. Hey, I mean, if you're riding Gerald Everett, go for it. I think it's close enough that if you have a close decision and you're like, hey, this guy got me here and I want to ride the horse that's got me here, go for it. All right. So there's no more questions. So I know we've gone 30 minutes. I'm okay with cutting it off. If we don't have any more questions, if we do, then get them in now. But otherwise, happy holidays to everyone. And I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas for those that celebrate. And best of luck in week 16. So I'll give it another 15 seconds here. But if we don't have anything else, then thanks everyone for coming and hanging out. But I expected this one to be a little bit short. So we have couple more. McCaffrey, Goodwin, Hawkinson for Jefferson, Kamara, Akins. Depends. If it's a cash game setting, I would probably go with the first one. I love Alvin Kamara this week. I think against the Browns, and I'm a Browns fan, the Browns have some of the worst linebackers in the NFL. And if it's 30-mile-an-hour winds and you have to throw the ball, who are you throwing it to? And it's probably Alvin Kamara getting him out in space against this linebacker core that they're without their top 4 inside linebackers. Jadeveon Clowney, who's their best run-stopping defensive lineman, is out. I know the over-under is low, but in a GPP setting, a lot of people are just writing off that game entirely. I really, really like Alvin Kamara. But if it's in a 50-50 or a head-to-head, I think you have to go the first one, to be honest. I think it's just a little safer. Fournette or Moss? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Fournette, thankfully. I have Fournette about 3 points higher than Zach Moss. So, okay. Looks like that's it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.